I got stuff for you.
Holy moly. I need to get some snakes and release them around my house.
But they love eating people. They love eating kids.
These guys are the scientists of the supernatural, lecturers leaving lessons for inquiring laymen. They are applying the scientific method to a world that baffles science. They are the cryptids of the corn.
Every day that you open your mouth,
I know, right?
I'm more convinced that you're abducted by aliens.
No.
And it just stood up. I mean, it just like kept going and going. And she goes, what the?
These are idiots.
I was laughing reading this because I already knew how you would feel.
Idiot. What part of the story fits your balloon?
Well,
This isn't a UFO. But who else has big black wings and red eyes?
Batman.
Well, Mothman.
Oh, yeah, Mothman.
Well, everyone, I think we know exactly what it is. So say it all with me. It was the sandhill crane.
Would you try it?
No.
You wouldn't eat it?
No.
Why?
Because they're probably toxic. There'd be a lot of poop in my pants. I've seen a 6-foot alligator go swinging through the air and slam into a tree. Welcome back.
Guess who's back?
It's Mr. E.
Back again.
And?
J Clone 3.
With
No, it's not Clone 3. It's not Clone 3. I'm not Clone 3. Definitely not.
Sorry, I didn't say that. And you yelled at me.
Sorry, it's Clone 33.
33. Yes, okay. Welcome back to Cryptids of the Corn podcast.
Clone 3 is busy.
If you're just now, I realize how hard our show would be to get into for the newer listeners. When you say that stuff and I say...
I don't even know what I'm saying.
No, but you are Jay and I am Justin.
No, you're Mr. E.
Mr. E and the Clone Master, which I think it's funny when you see that in newspaper articles and stuff like that.
Clone Master?
You are called Clone Master in several different newspapers.
What?
Yes, Emily can agree.
How do they know which one's the master?
I don't know. It's just, you've been called Clone. Anyways.
Yes, never mind.
Everybody knows the topic besides you, so that's exciting for me all the time. You just know it's about trains.
Trains, yeah. I don't know anything else.
But before we get to the fun topic of this episode, I want to say thank you to Bob for all the amazing stickers that he sent us for the bus. We love Bob. Bob, thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
I want to thank Rachel, sent us from New Zealand, or Rach off of Patreon. She sent us some amazing chocolate. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's probably my favorite chocolate I've ever had. I don't like...
Ever had?
Yeah. I don't like super sweet chocolates, but
Yeah.
I don't like dark chocolate. I like dark chocolates, but it's different, right?
Yeah.
That's like
Depends
a
what
good
you're going after.
That's like a good milk chocolate.
Okay. Yeah, if you're expecting milk chocolate and you take a bite of dark chocolate, it sucks.
I like dark chocolate.
Me too, but not when you're
Right.
expecting...
It's like anything. Like when you think you're getting a Sprite and you taste Dr. Pepper. I don't care what it is. It is gross. When it's very different than what you were expecting to taste.
Right, yeah.
I did that once with, I think, orange juice. I was expecting pop. It was in a cup. Same cup. So
Yeah.
I almost threw up.
Well, I did that once too. I was expecting... I thought...
Well, yours was chew spit.
No. I did do that too. It was root beer, and I thought it was root beer. It was chew spit. No, when you said orange juice, I used to have a little juicer thing. You'd shove into the orange, you'd squeeze it, and you drink the juice out of the orange.
Yes, I remember those.
So I had one of those, and I thought, whoa! Like I had two of them. I'm like, yeah, I was a little kid. Then I found this really big orange, and I'm like, oh, orange is huge. This is going to be amazing. Shove that thing down there, pop the top open, took a big squeeze right in my mouth. It was a grapefruit. I about puked. Still remember
battery
that.
acid.
I threw it down, didn't even pick it up. I was angry, little kid, and
Yeah.
left it.
So I want to thank Rachel for sending us some amazing chocolate from New Zealand.
Yeah, thank you.
Jay doesn't know what it tastes like.
I haven't
yet.
tried it yet. It's in my fridge at home.
Yep, but no, she's
it was
like, I hope it didn't melt. It did not melt.
It's a little melty.
But that was from I gave it to you. It was hot the day it got here.
Exactly, yeah.
I
So
ate mine
was-
right out the package. It was fine.
Mine's in the fridge
So thank you,
as
Rach.
we speak. Yes,
Thank you, Bob.
Bob and Rach.
And I think that is it for thank yous. Besides today's episode topic, our good friend Junior from Loveland.
No.
Yeah. He sent me a Facebook message last night as of recording this. This is probably a month and a half after he actually messaged me.
Okay.
But this is the next day as far as podcast time
receiving
travel.
it. Yeah.
He's like, hey, I found this thing and it'd be a really cool topic for you guys. And I'm like, yes, it would be. And we're doing it.
So trains, that's all I know.
So train wrecks, circus train wrecks, and the monsters that appear around them.
Oh.
So how many
P.T.
times?
Barnum's.
How many times And cryptids, when we start doing these episodes and stuff like that, there's a train wreck and a monster gets out, or a train wreck, and blah, blah. They say that it's just an ape that escaped from a circus wreck.
Right. Or it's my life, just a train wreck.
So how many times have we heard that, though?
Often.
It's a lot, especially when we talk about the apes in North America and some of the weirder cryptids.
I was going to say on our older articles, like where we find, that's where, like newspaper articles, it's usually like, oh, there's probably a train.
Escaped ape from local circus wreck.
Right, every time.
Yeah. So he was like, I wonder how much validity there is to that. Mm-hmm. So here is a website that gives you every circus train wreck in U.S. history.
Holy.
So
everyone?
It's, that's
for the most part.
Documented. I'm sure there's a couple that are left out. There's
through, yeah.
Hundreds. So this will probably be a 3 or 4 part episode. We're just going to do one part and sprinkle them in.
I thought you were going to.
No, we're not in a row.
We're going to run through all of them.
No, I just did. We're just doing them in order. And, we're kind of talking, if there's any of these train wrecks that do have monsters that pop up around them, like cryptid sightings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How common it is. Before we really get into it, first off, thank you again, Junior.
Yes, thank you, Junior. Appreciate it.
Do you think, so we've talked about it several times. Do you think this is a real thing, or do you think this is something that people use to blame?
I think both.
Explain.
I think it's a real thing that happens because when a train wrecks full of,
circus train. I keep saying, I keep forgetting to say circus train.
Well, you're right.
It's a specific type of train wreck.
Yes.
There's circus animals normally in the train.
Correct. So when we say train wreck, in this episode specifically,
that means circus train.
Just circus train animals, or trains with circus animals on them. When those wreck, you got an out-of-place, you automatically have a cryptid now in that area because you got an out-of-place animal if they are to escape, and you can't find them after the wreck. So there's an automatic cryptid by definition. But I just believe it happens. I believe that, things escape. It's even they keep them in zoos. Places where they're built to contain animals can't contain animals all the time. So if you get a train that wrecks, you're going to have some free animals. Some ostriches running around, some cats, lions, all sorts of crazy stuff.
And a lot of people at the time didn't know what those animals were.
Right, yeah. They don't have exposure to them yet.
Yeah, we're talking about a lot of times it's rural America where these wrecks were caught,
Right.
This just today, we're just doing the 1800s, and we don't even get through all the 1800 train wrecks.
Okay.
For the circus train wrecks. And so there's just a lot of mysterious animals that a lot of locals maybe have ever seen that about.
Right.
For example, like a chimpanzee. It kind of looks like a guy, kind of looks like a monkey, it's a great ape. So it's kind of, in between as far as looks go.
Right.
If you didn't know what a chimpanzee was, you'd call that a guy running through the woods.
Or a monkey man or
Or
something.
a monkey man, a wild man.
Yeah, wild
something
man,
like that. So that's where a lot of this legends could come from is.
Like the monkey god in South America.
Maybe. But dude, I got fun facts for you. This website gives us some trivia. And this is, I'll make sure I include the website link below in the description. Because it's a pretty good website if you want to learn about circus train wrecks.
Okay.
That's about it.
It's a very specific.
But it's got all the information.
Yeah.
Did you know that in 1952, at age 5, Steven Spielberg saw his first motion picture? Wow. It was The Greatest Show on Earth. The train wreck scene from the movie inspired Spielberg to later become a filmmaker.
Wow.
So, yeah, the first circus train to travel by rail was Dan Stone's circus in 1854. Throughout history of America's circus, train wrecks have taken many, many lives. The last fatal train wreck occurred in 1994 near Lakeland, Florida. Currently, only one circus and one carnival move their shows by railroad anymore. But the units of the rail are the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus and James E. Stratt's Carnival.
Okay.
They're the last two that still move by train.
Okay.
Most of them I'm going to assume move by semi now. Probably a little easier, a little cheaper, and a little bit more direct.
Yeah. More
when you can drive to the place.
More under your control.
Yeah, you don't have to set up shop right next to the train station. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So any questions so far?
No. Basic, straightforward.
All right. So the first one I have for you is P.T. Barnum's Great Traveling Explosion. This is Aluta. Is Iowa IW?
Huh?
Is Iowa IW? The state?
No, I thought it's IA.
What's IW?
IW?
Anyways, Aluta. On August 29th, 1870. Iowa. Thank you. Emily said Iowa.
Iowa is IW?
Yeah, I was right.
It's not IA?
I guess not. Don't yell at me. This is 1877. This killed 6 people. So I looked in this area,
Okay.
and I couldn't find a cryptid sighting from that year or anything kind of close by or anything like that.
Wait, Iowa is IA.
And what's IW? Maybe is it both? Was it one thing for a period of time and then they changed it?
I don't know.
Keep in mind, this is 1877. We shouldn't be getting hung up on this super hard.
True. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Pay attention to the train wrecks.
Okay.
So yeah, I couldn't find anything. This is the first big one, P.T. Barnum's too. So it's a real,
Right.
it's a real big circus company. Now, my next one for you is Sell's Brother Circus, Birmingham, PA, May 1st, 1878. And guess what?
What? Chicken
I
butt?
got one.
Uh-oh. You got... What do you mean you got one?
I found a cryptid that was seen immediately after this train wreck.
Oh, okay. Some stars aligned here.
Down river.
Oh, okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
So we're going to talk about the mystery on the river. Legends of the 1878 Wrightsville Sea Monster. This is in the river. They call it a sea monster because it's 1878.
Well, it's water, yeah.
So there's we're talking, a couple centuries ago now, so it's kind of hard to tell some of these dates, so there's a little stuff. But a shiver of anticipation ran through the communities of Wrightsville in Columbia, and this is PA.
Okay.
Spurred by tales of a mysterious creature lurking in the shallow waters and depths of the river. The event was intrigued such favor occurred on the scenic Sunday afternoon when a group of gentlemen rowing across the river found themselves witnessed this uncanny spectacle. Among the party was a Mr. Daugherty, a respected boss carpenter employed by the Reading and Columbia Railroad Company, whose account led credence to the whispers of this unknown creature. He recounted that the moment with the clarity born of awe, the creature first noticed for its startling demeanor. So keep in mind, they're encountering a monster in the river.
Yeah.
The same year, about a month and a half later after my train wreck.
Okay.
The creature first noticed for its startling demeanor. It stood erect in the water. Its stature reaching upwards of 7 feet. Its head bore a canine resemblance. Perched atop a slender neck, no thicker than about a foot to a foot and a half, leading to a robust body. Its girth exceeded more than a foot and a half at its widest. Its eyes were small and piercing, flanked by peculiar appendages resembling little fans on its head. It was equipped with claws/fins at the same time, presenting the vestige both frightful and menacing. This endemic being revealed itself 5 times, each instant rising from the depths to stand on its 2 feet branching from the front of its body, as if it's challenging onlookers to decipher its nature. The man, spurred by a mix of curiosity and bravery, hesitant to pursue towards the Wrightsville shore, their actions mirrored by several boats from the vicinity, all drawn into a chase. The youth of Columbia, too, could not restrain to be from the call of adventure, launching into the river in hopes of encountering the unknown creature. The creature's true identity became a subject of heated debate among townsfolk. So speculations range from the plausible giant otter to a seal to the fantastical more descriptions. Yes. So I'll read a little bit more. But do you have any idea what this animal was?
I've got some thoughts, but just to recap.
I have the newspaper clipping too, just so you know. I have the actual
the actual
1878
article.
newspaper clipping.
Any photos?
Huh?
Any photos?
No.
Oh, darn.
I think it was still
would've
at the powder exposure photography then, so to get a sea monster to sit still long enough.
You never know.
But so people encountered this creature 5 times in groups.
So
it seemed challenging, like it was playing with them almost.
Okay.
It never hurt anybody.
Right.
It was really big though. Mm-hmm. And
7 foot tall, roughly, they said.
I think they mean long. It's really hard to tell with the language.
Well, with it being upright too.
But it would stick out of the water like a pillar.
Yeah.
And when it was on land, it walked on its 2 appendages that were towards the front of its body.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Oh,
when it was on the bank.
Okay, I didn't know when it was on land.
It's really hard language.
Yeah, okay.
But
so
no, it's
not
on the
what I
shore
was
a lot.
thinking of.
You have no guesses?
Well, the little fans on its head?
There could be little ears.
Right, yeah.
So do you know the difference? Okay, canid-like head.
Yeah.
It's a sea lion.
You think just a plain old sea lion?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you know the difference between seals and sea lions?
No.
Ears. A lot of other things. Seals don't have ears exposed. Sea lions have ears.
Okay, like little fans perhaps?
Sea lions stand up. Seals don't.
Okay.
So the New England coast had only experienced seals and never seen a sea lion.
Okay.
So a very different looking animal, especially when
okay.
it's up. So this circus did in fact have a sea lion.
Wow.
And they thought it died in the train wreck. In my opinion, it survived in the river for an extended period of time before probably some Pennsylvania man shot it to death and then ate it, which you do at the time.
Could be. So
no.
they transport in the seal or a sea lion in a
when
water tank?
No, the train wrecked near a river.
Right.
So what do you mean?
What was it being transported on like a dry cart? Or a dry...
Yeah, just in a boxcar.
And they're fine with that?
Yeah, they don't have to be in the water. They dry and they stand out in the sun and stuff like that. They sunbathe.
They don't have to have access to water, though?
They need water to drink, but they can be outside of the water for extended periods of times.
Okay.
This was the time when sea lions were trained in the circus to do tricks and stuff like that.
Balance the ball on their nose and
that kind of
juggle and
stuff.
say funny jokes.
Yeah, well, there was the talking sea lion, which I'll do an episode on. Anyways, so in my opinion, this was a sea lion that was trained because it wasn't scared of the people. It was almost like it was challenging them, having fun with them.
Yeah.
Like a trained sea lion.
Right, yeah.
And then it was just hiding. It was just hanging out in the river until somebody probably shot it.
It was doing its tricks to get some food.
Yeah.
And no one's feeding it. And it's like, come on, I'm doing all this stuff.
So I'm not the first one to come up with this idea.
Yeah.
A newspaper journalist did kind of connect the dots that same year later because he'd been on the West Coast and seen a sea lion.
Gotcha.
And he's like, I'm pretty sure this is a sea lion. So this is one of our first one where a cryptid was formed from what seems to be a train wreck and an animal surviving the wreck and escaping.
What did they call the cryptid? Was there a name?
Get it. Yeah, it's just the area, like the area monster.
Oh, okay. Darn it.
Sorry, the Wrightsville sea monster.
The Wrightsville sea monster. Okay.
Later it was dubbed the Wrightsville sea lion.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yes, so sea lions were common in circuses at the time. They were still common all the way up until the 1960s. But yeah. A sea lion.
I mean, by definition, it is a cryptid.
A real, genuine cryptid.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to read this article, but you know the language of the day. It's very different than our language.
Okay.
Considerably, excitement prevails among fishermen here who have report over the sea lion was seen in the river yesterday. In the afternoon, several gentlemen who were out in the river in a rowboat saw the peculiar-looking object in the water. Mr. Dowder, boss carpenter of the railroad company we talked about, who was in the boat, described it as follows. When we first saw it, it was standing up in the water from at least 7 feet or more in the length. It had the head of that of a dog, and the neck was wide, about a foot long, like I read the description. Its body was thickest part was over a foot in diameter. It had small eyes in each of the side of its head, and something like a little fan or ears on its head. It had claws and fins at the same time. It was a frightful-looking object. 5 distant times it rose to the surface and stood up for 2 feet out of the water. Like the gentleman raced to it to Wrightsville shore, and several boats from that place started to pursue it. Several over the Columbian boys went out to sea in the river at the same purpose. What is it? Is the question everybody asked here. Some still think it's an otter, others a seal, but we believe this was a sea lion. But yeah, very sea lion description, very sea lion, very much a sea lion. And they were in the circus.
Better than my initial guess.
What was your initial guess? I'm curious.
Like, what is this? Some sort of a kangaroo or something?
I could see that. Kangaroos do like the water. Like that's where they trick you in there to drown you.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
I think it sounds familiar. So you probably told me that.
Kangaroos, when they're fighting somebody, especially humans, they'll go stand in the water because they know they can pin you underwater and just drown you. Dang. They can hold their breath longer than you, and they know it.
Yeah.
They do it with dogs a lot, too. They drown a lot of dogs.
Man.
Kangaroos are tough customers.
Yeah, those crikey.
So that's my first one. So there's your one. We got 1 and 1. All right. Stellus Brothers Circus in Cladwell, Ohio. September 15th, 1878. 1 injured.
Ooh, okay.
I could find no cryptid relatively nearby.
1878?
Yeah, near Cladwell, Ohio.
Okay.
So I tried to not do too far of a stretch for some of these. Because, you could find a cryptid somewhere in 1878, in the Midwest.
Okay.
But there's nothing within a couple hours of Cladwell.
Okay.
Okay, so, still only 1 injured. Sells Brothers Circus, Paint Lick, Kentucky,
Okay.
August 1882. 3 killed, 15 injured.
Ooh.
I couldn't find a cryptid for this.
So people were killed in the train crash?
A lot of people were killed. That's why I
Okay.
read at the beginning.
Gotcha.
Hundreds of people have been killed over the centuries.
Okay.
I just want to point out, hyenas were also popular in a lot of these circuses.
That is true.
And unlike a lot of these other animals, like a sea lion,
Yeah.
these hyenas would just disappear into the Appalachia.
Into the wilderness.
There you go. So yeah, my next one is W.C. Corp Circus in Cairo, Illinois. That keeps popping up, doesn't
Weird.
it?
Wasn't that just the last episode we did?
It was sharks. It was sharks, corn sharks.
Yeah.
But it was also in the Mothman saga, the Chicago Mothman. It's been in the Thunderbird saga. That's where that Thunderbird attacked the kid. It's Cairo is a weird place. Or Cairo.
Well, like I was just going to say earlier, we have one down the road from us, Cairo.
Yeah.
I don't know how to ever
That's
say
why
it.
I'm saying it wrong in the episode because the one near us is Cairo. It's spelled the same.
See, I've heard it's not called that though. I've heard other people say no, it's Cairo.
So I used to take Luke to baseball there, and the coach for the team that lives there always said, now I'm going to say it wrong, Cairo.
And I went to school with a lady that would live there her whole life. She's like at the time she's like in her 50s, so in her 60s now. She said Cairo. She's like, no, everyone thinks it's Cairo. It's Cairo. You can't believe anybody anymore.
All right.
You say whatever you want.
So I couldn't find an animal specifically with this date close in proximity to Cairo, Illinois.
Okay.
Are you okay? Jeez,
Corn
what
shark.
was that? Corn shark got you.
Burp, I get
Nathan and Company Circus in Walcott, New York, September 23rd, 1882. I got one.
Uh-oh.
So this is the Coney Island monster.
Ooh, okay. Not to be confused with the Warriors.
This is a weird monster. So a couple of these we're going to cover today. The dates can be a little skewed because I could find the same cryptid with 2 or 3 different dates.
Okay.
But I think that's partially because it was a century and a half ago.
Yeah.
So I did put some of them in there and we'll talk about. This is one that is either 1880 or 1882.
Okay.
So it could be not related to the train wreck or it was the same time the train wreck.
Right.
So I want to be very clear that with the research that there's a chance, that they're not connected.
Right.
But we still got to talk about a cool cryptid.
All right, cool. That's what this is all about, right?
So this is the Coney Island monster. The entity description: it appeared as to be a man with a bat's wings and improved frog legs. The face of a man could be distinctly seen. It wore a cruel and demented expression. Its movements made the objects close to it resemble those of a frog in the act of swimming with its hind legs and flying with its front legs. Of course, no respectable frog has ever been known to conduct itself in such precisely that way.
Right.
But were a frog to wear a bat's wings to attempt and swimming and flying at the same time, he would correctly intimidate or conduct of the Coney Island monster. When we add this monster waved its wings in answer to the whistles of the locomotive, it was deep black in color. So yeah, that was a lot to read. I'll read the full report. So what do you think so far?
I don't know what this thing is. I mean, it's got characteristics of like 3 different things going on.
So the man's face in the highly man-like face,
Yeah.
I think was a bit of an exaggeration by the.
Usually is.
Yeah, so in my opinion, you got to water it back a little bit. Let's water it down to be a giant bat frog thing. The man's face is, I think, a little extra.
Okay.
So I'll read you the full story. One day last week, a marvelous apparition was seen near Coney Island. At the height of at least 1,000 feet in the air, a strange object was act of flying towards New Jersey coast. It was apparently a man with bat wings and improved frog legs. The face of the man could be distinctly seen. Keep in mind, it's 1,000 feet in the air.
Yeah,
and a face of a man could be distinctly seen.
And I just like it twice. Improved frog legs.
And it wore a cruel and demented expression. The movement was made by the object. So I've already kind of read that. So when it was added, the monster waved its wings in answer to every time the locomotive below it whistled. Like it was getting bothered by the loud noise of the train whistle. and it was deep black in color. The alarming nature of the apparition could be imagined. The object was seen by many reputable people, and they all agreed that it was a man enlarged with wings in flight towards New Jersey. About a month ago, an object precisely the same nature was seen over the St. Lucius by the number of citizens who happened to be sober and believable and to be trustworthy. A little later, it was seen by various Kentucky peoples as it flew across the state. In no instances has it been known to align, and no one has seen the lower elevation than 1,000 feet above the surface of the earth. It's without a doubt the most extraordinary and wonderful object that has ever been seen, and there is such no time lost in establishing its precise nature, habitat, and probable mission. So keep 100, a long time ago this was written.
Right.
That this aerial apparition is a man fitted practically by wings, and no reason to doubt. Someone had solved the problem of aerial navigation by inventing wings with which a man can sustain himself in the air to direct his flight by any desired point. Who is the adventurous flyer in the object of his, in what is object? The question of immense and enormous importance. Of course, the first plausible of the interflections of the mind will be exclaimed with the mysterious flyer and an aeronaut who has been invented practical wings, and his sensitive experimentation was before making his invention public. This is direct adventure with known habitat and no habits and customs of aeronauts.
Okay.
So they're saying there's, it's reasonable why nobody's come forward and talked about it because they just invented flight.
Yeah, exactly.
50 years before flight or 40 years before flight was technically invented. So they're keeping it secret. And then the U.S. government shot this guy.
Oh, okay.
No, he was an aeronaut, and it just goes on. This article talks forever about, and it was seen by tons of people. They give names and stuff like that. So this, in my opinion, was a real sighting because, for example, Mr. Tingle, which was a guy that owned several businesses in the area I could find and stuff like that. So there was people that did come forward and talk about this to the news and stuff like that. Now, you could say this could be a cryptid explained with another cryptid, very kind of similar to some of the Mothman stuff.
Yeah, Mothman, Jersey Devil.
We're New Jersey.
Bat Squatch.
Yep.
I'm trying to go down the list. Those are the top three in my head. When you were describing all this, it just kind of sounds like those accounts.
Yeah.
Shoot, but I don't want to explain a cryptid with a cryptid.
So I think you were right with the Jersey Devil.
Okay.
But what was the Jersey Devil?
A hammerhead bat.
Yes.
Okay.
Keep in mind, the devil face man thing, throw that out because they said nobody got closer than 1,000 feet.
Yeah, come on.
You're telling me I can't. I'm looking out this window right now, and that's about 1,000 feet to that building over there. And if a guy was in that window, I couldn't tell you what his face looked like.
Come on, you sure?
Yeah. I'm sure that I couldn't tell he had the devilish face unless he probably was the literal devil.
Yeah, that might stand out, wouldn't it?
So, to me, I think it was, I could find some evidence that said they were in they were in circuses. People would have giant fruit bats in cages.
Yeah.
Because they were super scary to people that didn't know what they were.
Oh, yeah.
Because people had fear of bats.
They're still like that.
And now there's a 6 or 7 foot wide bat.
Yeah.
So, I think the train wreck could have released a couple fruit bats, giant fruit bats.
They really get that big? 6-7 feet wide?
I think our biggest species is 6.5 feet wide wingspan.
Holy moly.
That'd be the Malaysian giant flying fruit bat or the flying fox.
Is that the one from Mace Ventura 2?
No, that's the great white bat.
Oh, yeah. That's it. It's the great white bat.
No, so, yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, could be.
But it's near New Jersey.
Yeah.
So that's why in my head I'm like,
Jersey Devil.
A similar thing that the Jersey Devil.
First thing
there is a train wreck nearby, a circus train that did have these kind of animals in it.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, that's very plausible.
So far, not a lot of apes. And I think we'll talk about that at the end of the episode. Why there may be not so many apes.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if you would just explain that one by an animal alone.
It may not be. It could be more like a Mothman or something like that. I'm just saying for the context of this specific episode.
Exactly. Yeah, hammerhead bats. You could do something with that.
Yeah. If you've never seen a fruit bat or a hammerhead bat or one of the other giant species of bat, and it's just flying near New Jersey in New York.
And could it be some kind of big bird that we just didn't, like a thunderbird type creature, or a giant heron you don't know about?
Yeah, and it could be any of it. It could have been any of it. A shoebill stork.
Should be a shoebill stork. Could be
the devilish face. You know how many people say the shoebills look evil?
Yeah, they do.
And they're very peaceful.
especially from 1,000 miles away and
From a quarter of a mile away.
through a telescope with a
fifth mile away.
Yeah, no, I'm just being a little exaggerating, but what's the other bird? What's the big thermal vent raiders out in the west coast? Well, this is East Coast. So.
Condors.
Could it be like California condor?
So
but
here's the thing: is the legs?
albatross.
As I was looking at the legs, so to me it had pretty thin, like I guess toes. So I thought of bats for that.
Yeah,
you know, very long, thin
improved
legs.
Frog legs.
Yes,
whatever that is.
I don't think of talons and stuff like that when I think of improved frog legs.
Improved though, that's what gets me. Okay.
It's also we've lost that version of the language.
True.
You know, it could.
It's like I thought could be interpreted as frog legs, but it was more improved.
It was improved. It was definitely improved.
Ah, good notes.
All right. So my next train wreck is S.H. Bennett Circus in Hardinsburg, Kentucky. And this is April of 1884. I couldn't really find anything for this one. A couple wild man accounts, but they're 4 or 5 hours away.
Okay.
So that's just, to me, it's too big of a net to really be casting.
Yeah. I mean, it's Kentucky though.
That's what I'm saying. They had wild man since settlers got here. Well, they had wild man since the Native Americans were here. But I'm talking about, written stories for settlers.
Yeah.
So to say that there was a wild man in Kentucky in 1882 there was one the next year and there's one the year before that. I don't think it had anything to do with the train wreck.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same town the train wrecked in or something like that,
Right. But I don't think the train would have a wild man on it, though.
So this same company had another train wreck the same year. Actually, the same month, 9 days later.
Wow.
And it was in Abingdon, Virginia.
Okay.
They did not make it far.
Okay.
I just thought it was funny that it's literally like, I thought it was a misprint on the website.
Yeah.
Until I seen the town and state was different. I'm like, no, they just had a rough week.
I guess so.
You train wrecks twice. And
it just goes to show, when was this, 18 what?
The 1884.
So, I mean, our
infrastructure has not improved.
No, not at all.
The trains carry worse stuff than monkeys and giant bats now.
If anything, it's gotten worse, to be honest.
Well, when it was just bats getting out, you're like, whatever. Just
shucks.
Tip the train back on there. Let's go again. When it's, super deadly chemicals spilling out.
No one look. Let's just light it all on fire and go away.
The Johnny Robinson Circus in Fugus Falls, Minnesota, October 4th, 1885. 8 killed in this one. Oh. That was one. We haven't had anybody killed in one in a minute. I couldn't find anything with this one specifically. But yeah, there you go. The Frank A. Roberts in Putnam, Connecticut of 1886 killed one. So I found one with this one. Not a lot on it. Mm-hmm. So a couple newspaper articles talked about a month after the train wreck, people seen a walking dog. By that, I mean a stand-up walking dog.
Oh, I was going to say.
Like a dog would stand up and walk.
Yeah.
And as I read, it didn't seem like a dog man.
Right.
It didn't seem huge and, like a dog man and stuff like that. It seemed much smaller, like a child size, almost like a normal sized dog standing up and walking around.
Yeah.
You have any ideas on this one?
I've seen dogs do it.
I mean, like a lot. This dog was doing it a lot. And it was weird enough that the newspapers were talking about it.
We ever seen that video of that dog with no front arms and it's just, they're walking on his back?
I think they would have included that.
Well, I mean, maybe the legs didn't work.
You can't think of anything that could be on a circus train.
Oh, a kangaroo.
What?
Huh?
Emily said skinwalker from across the room. Yes.
I don't think
they do have those on circus trains.
Yeah, they might have had some
skinwalkers
on circus trains. Yeah, I've seen them in the
mobile
kangaroo.
Acts.
Yeah,
I didn't go with kangaroo, but I could see kangaroo
walking around. Yeah, it's got the dog like head.
I went baboon.
Oh, okay, I could see that too.
They look very much like a German Shepherd, and then they stand up. They walk around a little bit, and then they get back down on all fours.
Yeah,
and that's what I could find about it. But like you said, it could have been a normal dog that was doing this. The newspaper articles are very, very quick snippets.
Right. Yeah.
And I couldn't find a lot about it, but that was one.
I'm going kangaroo. I feel like kangaroo. They're always upright.
I could see kangaroo.
Yeah, upright dog.
Okay.
Especially if you don't, you're not from Australia. If you're in, what is that, Virginia? You see a kangaroo, it's like, that's a walking dog.
That is a walking dog. But that wreck also killed one person, so it could have been his reincarnated spirit coming back as a walking dog to haunt the town.
Whoa, what?
I just wanted to say something really off the wall for you.
Yeah, like whose spirit?
The guy that died in the train wreck.
Oh, it's just him.
Yeah, it's him reincarnated as a beast to hunt the town that killed him.
Understood. That's always an option.
Never throw it out. Adam Fourpaw's Circus, Augusta, Maine. And we've talked about Augusta before.
How many traveling circuses were there? A lot?
Hundreds for a long time. And then, a couple, like the 3 or 4 big ones survived.
Took over, just like anything nowadays.
Well, just because circuses got hard. There's no money in it. Like even the
right,
the Ringling Brothers and stuff, they talk about how there's...
The big ones just absorb.
That's why they got rid of like their elephants and stuff like that. Partially for humane reasons and partially because...
Can't afford it.
There's no money in it.
Yeah.
They carry around a couple animals that big with that much food and stuff like that. It's just...
You better pack out every show, every night.
And they're not allowed... I know most states have banned elephant rides now.
Really?
Yeah. And I get it.
I get it too.
It's, they are sentient beings that don't need to be exploited for money.
That's true.
But if he wants to give you a ride, I've seen him pick people up.
I wouldn't mind an elephant ride.
You ever seen... I know we're way off topic now. You ever seen that one video of the elephant caretaker for the reserve that came back and he's walking in the river and the elephants are ignoring all these people until he stands in the river and he yells and they hear it's him. They bum rush him from like a half mile away. They look like they're going to murder him. Yeah. And the second they get there, they all circle him and just gently start touching him with their trunk and ignoring all the other people. Yeah. They're so excited to see him and stuff like that.
Oh, good beasts.
You know the other thing that makes me so excited?
What?
Flavors of the Forest.
Oh, me too.
Let's play a Flavors of the Forest ad. We'll be right back, guys.
Suey! I got me this hot, fresh squonk steak, but man, it tastes bad. Jay, you got anything to fix this up?
I think you need some seasoning on that squonk fixer up.
Well, what do you got?
How about you try this right here? It's called Bigfoot Breath. Raw garlic seasoning made from fresh garlic.
Give me that. Well, it did make it taste a lot better. Jeez.
Brought that squonk right alive, didn't it?
I'm going to have to kill more squonks to use more of this seasoning.
Oh, how about you try this instead? How about you try my spicy garlic seasoning?
Oh, give it here. Suey! That's good stuff.
Spicy, but not too spicy.
That's perfect. Where can you get these delicacies?
Oh, you can find these on flavorsforest.com. This is our newest spice that's just been created, and it's from Flavors of the Forest.
Make sure you all get some at the links down below. We'll catch you. Suey!
And we're back.
I'm
hungry for some reason.
You know what? I don't care what they cook for dinner tonight down there, but we're going to sprinkle some Flavors of the Forest on it. I've hidden several bottles in the Ronald McDonald house.
Nice.
Just hoping people find them and take them.
Needs to be here.
All right. So, John Robertson's Circus in St. Louis, Missouri, November 4th, 1887, killed 2 people.
The circus killed 2 people?
The wreck.
Oh, yeah.
The train wreck.
I forgot.
I couldn't find any monsters with this one.
Missouri?
Yeah. Once again, I found a lot of Bigfoot sightings.
Hyenas?
Oh, yeah, but I couldn't find a hyena sighting directly related to this. Okay. But I'm just saying, I found Bigfoot sightings in the state of Missouri, within a couple hours, 3 hours. But at that point, it's hard to really say. Bigfoot's the one I'm kind of hesitant on for these, unless it's really small. Like a 4-footer Bigfoot where you can look at it and be like, oh, that's a chimp. That's a baboon. Yeah. When it's 9 foot tall, it's hard to say that it's a gorilla.
No, for sure, yeah.
When we didn't know about gorillas for another decade.
Yeah, true. I don't think any of the traveling circus had a Bigfoot on board, but I could see where they could have some creature, and then there happens to be a Bigfoot sighting or happens to be a sighting of said creature they'd never seen before, and then call it a Bigfoot just because.
I think it's the big muddy monster is the one that attacked the traveling circus.
Oh, it actually attacked the circus itself?
It fell in love with one of the ponies.
One of those guys, huh?
Yeah. So we talked about.
So the big muddy monster watches My Little Pony?
So I want to read this very carefully. So John Robertson's Circus crashed. St. Louis, Missouri, November 4th, 1887.
Okay.
John Robertson's Circus crashed. Brazil, Indiana, November 5th, 1887.
Wow.
They got the train back on the rails.
And then for it to
It killed 2 people. They got on the road again, and it wrecked again.
So is this the train's fault? Is it the track's fault? Is it the...
So I looked into it. We'll talk about it at the end.
Okay.
Because it does, as we go in time, it does get less and less frequent. But there's 2 factors for that, and we'll talk about that. But neither of those I could really find any direct monsters around that we could really point at and say could be circus animals on the loose. Bellsborough, Maine, 1888, Brenham and London circus crashed.
Okay. Up in Maine.
Yep. Couldn't find anything. Okay. My last one for this episode before we talk about some stuff with trains and everything like that. Like I said, this will be probably 3 or 4 parts, and we're just going to sprinkle it out through the season.
Okay.
And every time I want to just sit down and talk about train monsters. Because I found,
Train monsters.
as I was doing research for this, I found a lot for the 1900s.
Okay.
And I think that's because the data is more preserved.
Yeah. Say we might have lost quite a few of the
I think
sightings
so.
through time.
Yeah, because I could barely find evidence of these train wrecks sometimes.
Gotcha.
And these are train wrecks that killed people.
Right, yeah.
And you couldn't, you could barely find evidence of it. So this last one is the John Robinson Circus again. So he had a bad year. Well, this is the next year. This is September 10th of 1888 in Corwin, Ohio.
Oh.
Do you remember Corwin, Ohio?
Sounds familiar for some reason.
Think really hard. Like season 1, episode 7 or 8, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Can you think of it?
No.
So the town of Crosswick
Oh.
is a 2-minute walk from Corwin.
The Crosswick monster.
Yes,
The
the
lizard
Crosswick
thing.
monster. We're gonna talk about the Crosswick monster.
You didn't like that episode.
I did.
No, wait, someone didn't like it.
No, that was Bosco. We got yelled at.
No, there was someone with the Crosswick. Maybe you didn't feel it was a strong one. Maybe back
Well,
then.
it was episode like 7.
True.
Okay.
I think you were like, this is our least listened episode back then.
Well, yeah, when there was 10 people listening.
Yep.
So thank you all for your loving support. No, so let's talk about the Crosswick monster. So Corwin is literally, so this is my favorite one of this episode by a long shot, mainly because I typed in Corwin to see where it was on the map. Because I'm like, some of these towns don't exist anymore, so I look for where they were and find a bigger town, and then I look for monster and
associate
cryptid
it
sightings
too.
so I can find that. And then it's like, I looked it on the map, and the town, it's a 2-minute walk on Google Earth.
Okay.
It's a bridge. It's across the creek.
Right.
It's Crosswick.
Okay.
I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
So the train wrecked in 1888.
Okay.
So this is again, we're talking about a long, long time ago.
Over 100 years ago.
So for the Crosswick monster, I found 3 different dates again.
Okay.
3 different years. 1882, 1888, and 1891.
Wow.
So for the purpose, I want to be forefront about all of this. It could not be connected whatsoever. But this is literally about 100 yards from where the train wrecked.
Right, yeah, exactly.
And one of the dates is the same year.
Yeah, that's pretty weird, ain't it?
So let's talk about the Crosswick monster. So Crosswick, Ohio is a small unincorporated community in Warren County. It's kind of close to like Loveland down there and everything.
Yeah,
Kind of,
Kinda
It's
southwest.
south of Dayton,
Okay.
but north of Cincinnati.
Okay.
The unofficial border sits right alongside Warrensville. Its current population isn't really recorded. It only has one road passes through it. But for every little small community it doesn't have, it makes up for with one big thing. It's a giant recorded monster attack. Instead of all these monsters it just wasn't seen, it tried to eat a kid.
Yeah, I tried to pull him up a tree, didn't it?
Yeah, you're remembering. So, yeah, this was established in 1821 by James Jennings. The monster wouldn't make himself known to residents until 1888, while many large on tracks were occasionally found in this previous year, or during the year, sorry. Most often crossing over dirt roads that ran through the community. Nobody ever thought of finding out what was making them. So these people were seeing these giant tracks. They were described as almost avian, like giant birds. And have you ever seen monitor lizard tracks? I can see where they could be similar. They do have 5 toes, but they're thin, long toes with big claws, like a turkey.
Right.
They just have more toes. Sorry. Most reports chalk this up to fear held by the residents in the belief. But that way of thinking, as the residents would soon find out, would all change. So they were just ignoring this monster. While out fishing in Strutsville Run, which is the creek that separates Corwin from Crosswick,
Gotcha.
the stream that passes through Crosswick, 2 boys named Ed and John Lynch began hearing a loud unknown sound emitting from the tall grass behind them. Curious of what was caused this could be, the boys began to approach the area. Before they could investigate, though, a gigantic lizard-like beast burst through the brush, ran towards them on all four thick legs. Terrified, the boys began to scream and run towards their homes. The creature, although proving to be much faster than the pair, caught Ed in its mouth and pulled him down to the ground. Giant lizard, that's not good.
No.
If they get you on the ground, it's not good. Joe began to scream louder and louder. He watched this terrifying reptile drug his brother along the edge of the stream to a large, hollowed-out sycamore tree, which it appeared to be using as a den. Eventually, the screams of the boy were heard by 3 men who were in the area and came rushing to aid. The men, Reverend Jacob Horn, George Peterson, and Alan Jordan, arrived on the scene to find the nearly dead boy still in the creature's mouth and almost completely pulled into the hollow tree. Upon seeing this, the men raced over to the tree and retrieved Ed after being dropped by the creature before it climbed further into the hollow log it called home and out of reach. Mm-hmm. After summoning the nearest doctor from Waynesville to look after the boy, a man named Dr. L.C. Lurkins and 3 men rounded up a group of more than 60 residents to destroy the beast. Armed with axes, clubs, well-trained hunting dogs, the group of mercenaries marched towards the tree. Soon after arriving, the men started to chop up the tree with their axes in order to get the creature out. With the dogs growling and barking at the creature they knew was within inside. The men waited anxiously for the beast to show itself. Thinking the creature would try to escape the large hole at the bottom of the tree, the group of men were taken by surprise when the reptile leapt towards the ground from the hole at the top of the tree. Upon hitting the ground, the creature stood upright on its hind legs, balancing itself with its extremely large, thick tail. Though awkward looking, it did take off from the group. Some members of the group, obviously shocked and frightened by the appearance of the beast, dove out of the way and allowed the creature to make its escape. Others, not as quick to scare, chased the monster without a second thought. The group chased the beast for nearly a mile, through fences, streams, up hills, and around trees. Eventually, though, the creature managed to escape their pursuers by charging headfirst into a hole surrounded by rocks on the hillside. Members of the group, along with their dogs, surrounded the entrance of the hole, waited for the creature once again emerged. Believing it was the only way in and out of the hole, the men kept watch. But it appeared as if there was another unknown exit for the hole, because the creature was never emerged and was never seen again. So the Crosswick monster described by these people was roughly 12 foot long, covered in thick scales. It was black and white coloration with dull yellow spots. It had feet roughly 12 inches long, a wide head, a long forked tongue. Because of the description, many researchers believe the Crosswick monster is more likely out-of-place monitor lizard. A parenti is probably what it was, an Australian parenti. It could have also been an Asian water monitor or a New Guinea crocodile monitor.
Could it have been a Komodo dragon?
It could have been, but they were still extremely rare. They were super rare at this time, especially in trade. Yeah, but the coloration, though.
Yeah, that's the big indicator.
Yeah, Komodo dragons are a solid flat color unless they're really little.
Okay.
So
this wasn't really little.
No.
Yeah.
So in my personal opinion, this is either an Australian parenti, which are extremely intelligent, clever hunters, and they do tackle large game sometimes, like kangaroos.
Okay.
So a kid,
not so much different.
If you're hungry,
yeah.
No. And then New Guinea croc monitors were really rare. So in my opinion, it's either an Australian parenti or an Asian water monitor. Both much more common animals. The big, large yellow spots, this colorful palette of, and both can be aggressive. Now, most of these monitor lizards, besides the Komodo dragon, max out at 8 feet. So the 12-foot-long creature seen in Crosswick, I think, could be chalked up to about 150 years of exaggeration.
Right, yeah. Getting bigger and bigger and bigger over time.
So both Australian parentis and Asian water monitors were in circuses.
Ooh.
And they were shown sometimes as dragons. They were shown all kinds of monsters and stuff like that.
Put a funny hat on them.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. You won't have your finger. Monitor lizards are highly intelligent, so they're basically being tortured in captivity in these circuses.
Gotcha.
So they get kind of bitter.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
They get a little bitter, so every time you put your hand near them, they will remove it.
Right, or if you're like a little kid and they're like, all right, screw this. I'm eating them.
Some of the stories say that this creature did, in fact, have a nest, and when they opened the log later, they found tons of eggs in there and stuff like that. And it could have been a pregnant female. Monitor lizards can produce offspring without a male. She could have also been pregnant, wild caught,
Right.
and then just laid eggs in there. Would have died that winter, no matter what. It's a monitor lizard from either Australia or Asia.
Not meant in that biome.
Yeah. So what do you think about this one?
Oh, I think this is, barring it being a fake story, but I don't think it is.
It was very highly detailed and scripted on a lot of people's names that we can look up.
Yeah.
Tiny town, though, in Ohio.
I think you're on. I think it is some kind of big monitor lizard.
Yeah, I'm going to go probably parenti or water monitor.
And it's either that or some weird cave creature that's just never been seen. It's just something weird.
But very
like a one-off ancient species.
It could be the giant salamanders of the Ohio River.
Yeah, could be that.
No, I think it was just. I think it's
a land salamander,
a monitor lizard that was hungry, probably starving,
and probably escaped from a train that wrecked.
The train that wrecked that year earlier,
right across the river,
like 150 feet away.
Literally that same spot. Yeah.
And was starving. And I don't know. So they can be kind of protective when they're digging their nests and stuff like that. They really don't do a lot of nest guarding behaviors. But so the boy could have been attacked.
Say when you're lost and desperate, though, you kind of throw everything out the window.
Yeah. So I don't know if the animal was starving. Yeah. And then the boy was a meal that could have tried to attack and eat. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about it carrying away in his mouth and stuff. And my personal thought, we talk about these old stories. Been in the newspaper several dozen times over a century.
Yeah.
They probably get a little more exaggerated every time.
But it could have, though, and depending on the boy's age and
it could have.
Like
I said,
shoot, you grab your leg and just starts dragging you. What are you going to do?
Yeah. I mean, not a lot.
And it sounds like brother Joe didn't really help him.
They're 13
much.
and 11, so they're pretty decent sized kids.
But still, 11-year-old.
I think it more likely what happened.
Especially at that age, they can grow at different rates. A big time.
Yeah.
Kids. We just had a group of kids at their after school program for having good grades. The school bring them out and go bowling. And literally, it was like fifth graders. And the size difference range, some that were taller than me, about 8 foot tall. And then some that were seriously up to my waist, maybe. I'm not joking, though. I'm 8 foot, I'm joking. But the kids are pushing almost 6 foot tall, which is in fifth grade. Shouldn't be possible. But then their classmates come up to their knee.
Right.
But they're all the same age.
So I think, personally, in my opinion, it probably just bit the kid.
Yeah.
And the rest has been exaggerated over a century and a half.
It could, yeah. You don't know, though.
No, I don't know. But that's a big monitor lizard to carry off a 50-pound kid, even if he's a small kid.
Or even if, let's just say they were right by that tree, it was dead trees right by the river, and it grabs a kid in the river, it's easier to pull something through water.
And I don't think it was a Komodo dragon, because the kid would just be dead.
Yeah, he'd have been poisoned or
venom.
Venom, envenomated.
Yeah.
What's that called?
Envenomation.
What's it called, though, when you're infected?
When you have venom in you?
Yeah.
You've been envenomated.
That's it?
Yes. You had the word correct.
So if someone's been poisoned.
You've been poisoned.
Okay, and if someone's been
injected with venom, they're envenomated.
Wow.
Venom is only injected into the bloodstream.
Should be a better word for that.
You had the word right. I don't know what you want. Poisoned? You think poisoned is better than envenomated?
No, because it doesn't. It's no. But envenomated, there's infected. I don't know. Envenomated, fine.
But yeah, so I think that's what happened. And I know whenever we do part 2 and part 3 of this, I think it'll at least be 3 parts.
Probably.
Maybe 4, because there's in the 20s through the 50s, there are a lot more cryptids that are directly connected to train wrecks.
Wow.
After Junior sent that, I was finding stuff like I don't want to spoil
it's like
it.
Foreshadowing. Don't spoil it.
But
save it.
Another one that's been on the show.
They're on the edge of their seats.
I think this was the Patreon episode when we did Helltown, Ohio.
Yeah, I think so.
But the monster from Helltown, Ohio was probably released from a train wreck. So what do you think about this?
I think it's an interesting topic that gets coverage, here and there, but I haven't heard anything like a full-on linking the two together just like we're doing right now. Like, I haven't heard that yet.
So yeah, and like I said, I'm not going to do this in a row.
No.
Because it's too hard. This one is very research intensive.
Yeah.
Like very.
And we're not even at a home studio to do it.
No, and I'm doing this in Ronald McDonald House.
Yeah.
But no, I will sprinkle it in because it's fun. I like it. It's a lot of fun, Junior. Thank you.
Yeah.
So why did train circus crashes slow down? 2 reasons. Well, why did it happen so much then? Why did it slow down? Infrastructure, for the trains. I know it's bad now. It was absolutely appalling. Train tracks were done by hand at this time and stuff.
Well,
like
yeah,
that.
it's because we
You
dug
could
them all
There's
up.
pictures of like the rails
Yeah,
like wobbly.
yeah.
So every once in a while, what would happen is the wobble would go too far away from the other rail
Track,
and the
yeah.
train would just get thrown off it.
Yeah.
And then you'd go out there and fix it.
Yeah.
And then they'd put the train back on it, and then they'd make it 100 more miles, and then it'd fall off again.
Find another wobble spot.
The uneven train, like it was built by
wobbly.
hand. Hundreds, if not thousands, of miles of train tracks.
Right. I mean, we dug up all the railroads, right? They're already here.
I never heard that.
Yep. We dug them up and started using them again.
Yeah, well, that explains it.
You think we bored through a mountain to put the Transcontinental Railroad in, or did we just rediscover it?
That guy, was it the guy in India that removed that whole mountain for a hospital?
Well, yeah, that's
You ever
different.
seen that?
We talked about it, didn't we?
I think so.
Yeah.
That he did it because his wife died of cancer. So he wanted to make sure nobody ever. It took him like 23 years, but it was one guy with a
Right.
shovel and a pickaxe.
Made a path. It's different stone.
Different stone. Thank you.
Yep.
No, so yeah, I mean, I'm excited. This is fun. I think that a lot of these weirder, like not weirder, I guess, a lot of the more, I don't want to say mundane cryptids either.
Just
A lot of our animal
one-off.
cryptids.
Or one-off
They're
animals,
like,
yeah.
for a town, like the Crosswick Monster.
Yeah.
It's like the walking dog, the giant flying bat. And
Right.
what else did we do this episode? I'm forgetting the first one.
Oh, the seal.
The sea lion.
Yeah, the one that did the double backflip into the Mel's hole.
Yes, it was the same one.
Yeah.
Like tumor seal. Yeah. No, so yeah, that's where we're at with this.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for part 2, which will be some point in the future.
That's true.
It is true.
I'm Ben J Clone 33.
I've been the great and powerful mystery. We'll catch you next week, guys. Bye.
Bye. Enjoy Flavors of the Forest.
Hey guys, thank you for listening to Cryptids of the Corn podcast. Remember, the best way to support the show is share it with a friend. But if you are craving more of the J clones
And more from Mr. E.
there's always extra content on Patreon.
And our paid member space on cryptidsofthecorn.com.
We'll catch you next time with more exciting, fun, and informative information. Bye.